Hi, and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast. My name is Isabel Ross, and I'm the coach at Peak Endurance Coaching. Episode 70 is another interview with Travis Macy, a finisher of over 120 ultra endurance events in 17 countries. Travis is a speaker, author, coach, and professional endurance athlete. He is the author of the book, The Ultra Mindset, an endurance champion's 8 core principles for success in business, sports, and life, which I previously interviewed him about. This time I am talking to him about EcoChallenge Fiji and how he and his team, Team Endure, fared. If you haven't already watched the world's toughest race on Prime, I urge you to get on over and watch it. I don't normally binge watch series, but for this one I made an exception and did. It was awesome. Can I ask you a favour? Would you be able to go on over to Apple Podcasts to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast? I don't get paid to do this. I do it for the love of sharing great stories and information, but would greatly appreciate your reviews and support. It makes it all feel really worthwhile. Like adventure racing, running can take you many places, both mentally and physically. But if you have injuries or niggles ruining your enjoyment of running and hindering your performance, it's hard to be motivated to get out the door. If this happens to be the case for you, go in and see the specialists at Health and High Performance, where, utilising the latest in technology and experience, they will help you to achieve the results you want and are capable of. So, head to healthhp.com.au/run or find them on Instagram, Health High Performance. I really think this quarantine isolation time is a good time to do some self-reflection and working on yourself. In spite of everything feeling out of control in this time of COVID, you are actually in a position of power within yourself and how you react to this crappy situation. As they always say, control the controllables as much as you can. You can do this with your running with a structured and well-planned training plan with Peak Endurance Coaching. Email me, Isabel, at peakendurancecoaching.com.au, and let's get your training moving in the right direction. Enjoy the interview with Travis. It cuts out a little bit at the end, and a little bit at the start, but other than that, the quality is good. Enjoy the interview. Hi, Travis, and welcome back to the Peak Endurance Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Isabel. Awesome to be back here with you and the audience. Glad that we could navigate the time difference here. And
Yes, that's right. That's always a bit of a tricky one. So now, last time we spoke, we were talking about your book, The Ultra Mindset, and you had said something about, you had done some really hard race. And then, of course, I saw on Prime that the world's toughest race. Can you tell the listeners a bit about how you originally got into sort of adventure racing things, and then how what your motivation was and to get into the Eco Challenge?
yeah, so the sport of adventure racing, for those who aren't familiar, is typically a 4-person co-ed team that's navigating through a variety of terrain with paddling and trekking, mountain biking, fixed ropes, using map and compass the entire way, and a variety of other disciplines, kind of unique to the area. So in Fiji, we were on these Thamakau outrigger canoes, and I've done a few races in Australia, and, those races have typically required ocean paddling, so on sea kayaks or surf skis or, kind of whatever they feel like thrown at you. And, the shorter races are maybe half a day or 24 hours. And then all the way up to something like, that world's toughest race Eco Challenge that was a maximum of 11 days, nonstop, sort of around the clock. Clock never stops. Your part of your strategy is, when do you sleep? Where do you sleep? How much do you sleep? Very dynamic sport. And the teamwork aspect is super cool. as well. So anyway, my history with the sport is when I was a kid and teenager, in the late 90s, my dad started doing these eco challenges. He had done some ultra running, and he had done the Ironman, and, was just kind of approached by his friend Marshall Ulrich, who viewers may have seen on the Amazon coverage. And, Marsh said, "Hey, Mace, you want to go do this eco challenge that Marshall heard about it, through the grapevine or whatever." And that was Mark Burnett's. He's the producer. His kind of first crack at making a TV show out of this, and he did. And my dad and Marshall ended up doing like the next 8 of those races, and until 2002. In Fiji, where they did a race, and over the years, they raced in British Columbia, Morocco, Argentina, Borneo. Gosh, let's see where else. Maybe did I say Argentina already? I don't know. They went to awesome places. New Zealand and Australia. They did races in both of those. So awesome travels around the world. And again, I was, kind of in high school and then in college watching these things go on, and always just super, super interested in seeing, those classic adventure racers, including many of the Aussies, John Jacoby and, Jane Hall and, these classic Aussie teams that were always up there at the front. And I just kind of knew I wanted to get into it. So as I finished college in 2000, kind of 3, 4, 5, I started getting into these races and ended up, being able to have some good sponsorships that paid for myself and my teammates to travel around the world. And, that's when we were doing things like racing in Australia and New Zealand and Patagonia and Scandinavia and various places in Europe. And, it was a great way to see the world. And unless, at least in America, and probably to some extent in Australia, less prominent, than when the Eco Challenge was going, because there wasn't, the TV production and that kind of stuff, but there were still great races. And I had a blast racing with a number of Aussies. There's a guy named Rob Preston. He and I did the world championship together. He was shown on that coverage. Darren Clark, who's from the Melbourne area, I think Geelong maybe. We did a number of races together. I got to do a few big races with John Jacoby kind of at the end of his time racing, and that was a blast, just to get to race with someone like him. So anyway, I was, doing those races kind of as my sort of main sport, probably till 2012 or 13 or so. And then I kind of shifted mostly to ultra running for a few years and some mountain biking. Most recently I've done mostly ski mountaineering. And then, we kind of thought Eco Challenge itself was gone for good. And then a few years ago, we start to hear these, what at the time seemed like rumors, maybe it's coming back, and Bear Grylls is involved. And, we many times we're like, oh, this is like some internet scam or, whatever. And it turns out it eventually became clear, okay, this is the real thing. And, let's do it. And was Dad's Alzheimer's diagnosis was around that same time. And we kind of realized like, hey, this is, maybe a chance where we can get out and do something very special together with some of our good friends, Shane and Danelle and Andrew. Andrew was our support crew guy. And we're glad to do it. It was a blast. We had a ton of fun.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like an awesome challenge. I don't know if all of it looked fun, but it certainly looked like an awesome challenge. So when your dad, when you were a teenager and your dad took up adventure racing, how old was he then at that stage?
So in 95, he would have been like 42, I think. Yeah. And that, for these, as you know, from ultra marathoning, I mean, many folks into their 40s and 50s can be at the elite level. And not that, he and Marshall were never winning the Eco Challenge or anything, but, they were doing just fine. And, so continued to do that kind of into his early 50s. And then even after the Eco Challenge, he and I went to a whole bunch of races together, not necessarily on the same team, but, maybe I would have a team and he would have a team, or, lots of races he crewed for me and that kind of stuff. So we continued to, just have the shared interest, which was great.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome to have a shared interest like that with your dad, and vice versa for him as a parent. I know that would be awesome to have
Yeah.
with your child. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it difficult to get into the race? Because I bet
Yeah.
lots of people wanted to get into it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure, right now they just had an application period
That's
for the
right.
2021. And I'm sure that would, who knows? I mean, I'm sure they got thousands of applications. I don't know how many. I'm sure they got, many for the first one. It was harder to find out about it. You kind of heard through the grapevine, or, you had seen the EcoChallenge.com and signed up for the newsletter or something. So I have no idea how many applicants there were and what percentage got in or whatever, but it was, they're both producing a, legitimate challenging race with lots of good teams and great competition and prize money and a reality TV show. And, and that is what it is. It's totally fine. But that does, that plays into the application process, which again, it is what it is. Like, you want to have this awesome race with great funding and, a lot of the energy and hype and all that. They've got to have the stories as well. So I think they did a great job with it, and they had, awesome teams, the best teams in the world were there.
And the stories of the teams that they highlighted were really interesting stories. And
yeah, I think so. And there were a lot more stories too.
I'm sure there were.
Family teams and, this and that. There was, just as many stories that they could have covered. But again, you only, I mean, if I was God, the Eco Challenge coverage would be like 100 hours. And
well, I wish it had been, because I wanted to keep watching.
yeah. But I'm not. So
that's next time. So obviously you knew you and your dad were going to be part of the team. How did you choose the other members? Because I'm sure you've got lots of friends who are fit and into all sorts of things.
Yeah. In this case, I mean, I do have a lot of friends going back, and international friends, and, like Emma Roca, for example, who they showed a lot on the coverage. I mean, she's become a great friend of ours through this sport and through ultra running. So, it kind of just, this time, this seemed like a great group where all of our goals lined up as far as, let's focus on the experience. Let's, we're not racing competitively. We're racing seriously as far as, we're here to, make it through if we can, or go as far as possible, which I think we did. But it's a much different focus from a pure competitive focus where, you're sleeping a lot less and you're just crushing yourself and all of that. So we were kind of all in. Shane, Danelle, and I have all previously raced at a very high level, and we've raced together. We've been great friends over the years, but we also, none of us had done a real big race like this since we had kids, and we kind of saw it as, here's a chance maybe to share it with our kids, whether that's just through the TV production, or maybe we can actually bring them to the race, bring the spouses and kids. And, my mom came and my sister came, and even my wife's parents came. So we had, no joke, 15, fans at the hotel. They couldn't go on the course, but they were there. And that was a huge draw for all of us. In addition to, kind of with the Alzheimer's perspective, we realize there's a lot of uncertainty here, and we've got to be very confident in our experience and abilities. And, as I looked at, okay, I think this is a good team to do that. Shane specifically is really a water expert when it comes to whitewater and the ocean. And so, boom, you got that checked off. Danelle is just a phenomenal athlete with a lot of experience, who also happens to, provide a lot of support for her elderly neighbor who has Alzheimer's. So she's got some, experience in, maybe how do you support someone in that area? So, and again, just, we're all a lot of fun. We enjoy being together, and it was a good fit. And same thing for Andrew, our crew guy, as well. He was a great fit for us, and the stray dogs, they were kind of an extension of our team too. We trained a lot with them and traveled out there with them. And, in many ways we were kind of, two teams together. We did the rope certification and whitewater certification, with those guys. So, yeah.
So you had to do those certifications as part of preparing, like that was something you had to have?
Yep. Yeah. A bunch of, let's see there's the rope skills. So that's like climbing,
Yeah.
ascending, passing, fixed knots, rappelling, Tyrolean traverse. You got to
Ah.
get signed off by a climbing guide. And depending on who's on your team, someone on your team may be a climbing guide and they can probably sign off themselves and you. Same thing for Swiftwater. So we did like a Swiftwater review course where we practiced some rescues and steering the boat, and even a classroom session about fluid dynamics in the river, and really good stuff to brush up on. There's like a navigation certification.
Ah.
There's kind of a jungle skills certification, and so yeah, there's a lot to it. I would assume like for Patagonia for the next race, there'll probably be some sort of glacier travel certificate. How do you rope up with your teammates? What do how do you navigate crevasses? All that sort of stuff. So there's a lot that, in addition to just sort of the fitness, which is primarily running, biking, and paddling, there's a lot of specialized skills such as navigating, gear maintenance, nutrition, all that, and then the logistical planning of the certifications and just getting the gear. I mean, the gear, like, your house is just a total gear explosion for months leading to the race. So there's a lot that it's a big effort just to get to the starting line.
Oh God, it sounds like it. And I didn't realize that you had to do all those certifications, but I just thought I was thinking, well, what if they don't know how to climb, up the ropes and that? But obviously there's an element of safety that has to be abided by. So
Yep.
I guess that's part of it.
And then the days leading to the races, you do some additional testing. So they throw up some ropes, on the side of a hotel, and you ascend and rappel, and they give you a little training like the Thamaco sailboat. There's not many of those things around here in the Colorado Rockies, so we got a little bit of training on that, and really, you watch this stuff and it is extreme and there is some level of risk, but I also think in a race like this, it's very polished and well run and has good safety support. That they have extensive rope staff, dozens of people who are top-notch climbing guides from around the world. It's really a relatively controlled scenario to do some of these activities. It's a lot safer than just going out there into the bush in Fiji by yourself or with your team and trying to do this stuff. Yes, of course, injuries can absolutely still occur, but it's a good controlled environment. And that's one thing that encouraged us to, hey, this is, a risk that we're willing to take.
Yeah, no, that certainly gives me another perspective on it. That's awesome. So how did you, like, with all those different elements to train for, how do you train for something like that?
Again, you gotta time on foot, time on the bike, and time paddling are the main, things to do. And that, probably is somewhat balanced between the three, depending on how much time you have. It also might be depending on what does the course look like. Does it seem to be heavy in paddling or cycling or, mountains? The Patagonia course will probably have a lot up and down, and like cycling in the hills may be more important than it was in Fiji, although Fiji was pretty darn hilly as well. And then, I mean, we're lucky as well. A lot of this is experience. Like, some people watch this on TV and they're like, I want to adventure race and I want to do the world's toughest race. And gosh, it looks like a lot. And well, it is. And if you want to do this stuff, work your way in, choose something that's appropriate, and kind of, you go step by step and you build these skills. You don't, it's like whatever, the ultra running world, like you don't have to start off by running 100 miles or 200 miles, and you don't ever have to do those distances if you don't want to. You can still, be a trail runner or adventure racer and, do whatever distance is appropriate to you. Another thing is sometimes people think, okay, I've trained for my marathon or my 50K or my 10K, and let's say someone's spending 10 hours a week training, and they think, oh my God, to go 600K, I've got to spend 100 times that, Yeah. Well, you can't train that much because not that much time exists. And most of us have things like families and work and other stuff going on. And the moral there in my mind is it doesn't have to be huge, incredible hours. I was training for this race probably 10 to 15 hours a
Oh,
week,
okay.
mostly running and biking. Again, I knew we weren't going to be trying to win, so I probably didn't paddle as much as I would have. If I was on an elite team trying to win, I'd probably be doing, maybe 20 hours a week, and I'd be doing more, a lot more paddling and longer sessions on foot, and on the bike.
But either way, that's not unreasonable amounts of training either, is it?
Yeah, I think most of the people you see out there, again, they're probably balancing family,
Yeah,
job,
that's
that
it.
sort of stuff. And it comes down to how do you want to spend your time?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people in America watch a lot of TV, and probably a lot of Aussies do too. And
Oh, yeah.
I think many people, if they cut their TV time in half and decide to spend it exercising, like, wow, well, there's an hour or two a day, and that's enough to maintain a pretty good fitness level.
Yeah, no,
So it's doing
definitely.
those. And again, with a sport like this, even like you would see with ultra running, there's the craft of racing, and that's, managing your gear. How do you carry it? How do you eat and fuel? And, the navigation you saw, that's a big thing. So like, at least one person on the team has got to be pretty good, and hopefully spend a lot of time looking at maps and, trucking around out in the bush there, and all that sort of stuff.
And so how, like so for instance, like with the bikes, like were you all able to fix it? Because I used to race mountain bikes. I know what it
Yeah.
can be like.
Yep.
Sometimes it can be the bike that stops you rather than
Oh yeah.
yourself. So
Yeah.
were you all pretty well versed in how to deal with technical issues there?
Yeah, good enough. I mean, I'm not a bike
Yeah.
mechanic, but kind of with, I mean, probably not my dad at this point, because with
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, I mean, how do the parts of a bike match up? That's a
Yeah.
pretty tough question. But yeah, you figure out how to get by. Andrew, our crew guy, he's probably the best bike mechanic on our team, and that's a big asset because
Mm.
maybe you can, whatever, something breaks and you can limp your way to the next camp, and then maybe he can, provide a bigger a fix, or, he was fixing bikes for other teams. And, and that's just kind of something you do. You bring a lot of extra parts, I mean, if we had extra tires, we had one derailleur, we all four had derailleur hangers, and backup brake pads and cables, and, you got all this stuff because it will break
Yeah.
at some point. And, my bike went downhill pretty good after, like, we had to carry our bikes through this big river. And ideally you'd be holding the bike above the river, but, it might drag in there a little bit.
Yeah.
And it turned out, I think what happened is a bit of my frame went into the water itself, and got some water on that internal cable housing.
Yeah.
So water, and then the silt in the water got in there, and then throughout the day it basically cooked and hardened. And lo and behold, those cables, for shifting gears,
Yeah.
they just couldn't move. So, I was basically reduced to a single speed for quite some time, which
Oh,
is,
annoying.
better than
No gears.
better than
Yeah.
it could be. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
sometimes,
Yeah.
like,
Like that.
you break something that you
Yeah.
can't ride at all. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, that's,
Exactly.
that's part of the deal. Yeah, stuff breaks, and it's, it's kind of like these ultra runs. It's a lot less about having no problems, because you will have problems. It's more
Yeah.
about managing the problems and figuring it out and doing it efficiently. As you saw with the top teams like the Kiwis, they're very good at minimizing time loss in any little, mishap, getting lost for a short period of time instead of a long period of time, fixing little problems before they become big problems. Those
Yeah.
are all things you got to stay on top of.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Now, so how long before the race was your father diagnosed with Alzheimer's?
Um, in in the year leading up to it, I can't, kind of the late
Yeah.
fall beforehand. I can't remember exactly
No, I
when, but
don't.
it was, definitely, the same time of sort of, okay, the race is coming,
Yeah.
we think we're in, okay, here's the race date, and then, here's the diagnosis. Well, can we do it? Should we do it? Will they let us do it? Is
Okay.
there going to be liability issues? There's a lot of, for me, a lot of anxiety around all
Oh,
of these
yeah.
issues. And, I'm in hindsight, I'm glad that I push through it to do something
Yeah.
that was important to us.
Oh, definitely. That'll be an awesome thing to have. And so, I mean, I don't know a lot about Alzheimer's. What were the effects for your dad during the race?
Well, there were kind of ever present. I mean,
Mm.
and some of it, some they caught on camera, a
Yeah,
lot.
that's right.
They didn't, but anything with details just becomes a lot harder from, sort of the gear management, for example. There's you're carrying so many different things and so many just little details to monitor, even just down to eating and drinking, and how often do you eat and drink, and where's this thing in your pack, and who's carrying what, and who has the team gear. And you get to camp and it's like, okay, next section we're taking this and this, but this, that, and the other are coming out of
Yeah.
out of the pack. Or you get to the next bike section and there's your bike in a box in pieces, because you took it apart
Yeah.
the last time you rode it, and you got to put it back together. So those were just many, all of these things became, instead of sort of, each person look out for themselves and then, help the others if and when you're done, if you finish first. It was more like we're in this together, and that was fine. Like we knew all that going in, and it was totally fine. He definitely had a few episodes of pretty significant disorientation, especially at night, where just sort of uncertainty about where are we or what's going on, or, a couple times even more significant than that. And that's something we expected might happen, because that's not uncommon for people with Alzheimer's, particularly in a new environment. And
Yeah.
when, things are confusing, you get to whatever, one of these checkpoints, and there's 5 different languages and it's dark, and everyone's got headlamps, and I mean, the rest of us hardly know, like, where do you go to check in, or where,
Yeah.
okay, we want to sleep here, where are we going to sleep, where do you get food? It's just a dynamic, overstimulating, confusing situation, and that kind of stuff was quite hard. And again, we kind of realized as a team, as long as someone is talking with dad, especially when it gets dark, the nights were a lot tougher. And that's why, we tried to sleep as much as we could in the dark. We couldn't stop and sleep 12 hours every night. It was dark, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. because it's like right on the equator.
Yeah.
So we can't be stopped that whole time, but as much as we can and stay ahead of the cutoffs, we'll stop and sleep. And that turned out to really be our secret weapon, is having conversations going at night. And that ended up largely being Danelle's role, because Shane and I would kind of be, wrapped in the maps and, figuring out where to go. But it wasn't a problem. It was just 2 old friends walking along, chatting, for hours every night. It was just beautiful. It was really cool.
Yeah, that does sound cool. So, I mean, obviously you're saying that you kind of developed some strategies as you went. Did you
Yep.
have like an overarching strategy before you started the race?
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, overall, our goals were be safe, work as
Yeah.
a team, have fun,
Yeah.
stay ahead of the cutoffs. That was our only competitive goal, and keep going. And we did all those things, and also just recognize, hey, for any team, I don't care if you're the Kiwis or the Canadians who finished second, or whoever, you can have done a ton of these races, and there's still going to be a whole lot of uncertainty and thinking on your feet and figuring, and that's part of the reason you do it. So we had all of that, plus just more uncertainty about Alzheimer's with what was going to happen. We just didn't know, but we knew that we were in it together, and that we were confident in first of all ourselves, and then other teams out there, should somehow we need to work together with them, and then the race organization in general. Again, it's you're way the hell out there, but like, you got a GPS. If something happens, you're probably not stuck out there for too long. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we knew going in, sleep was that was kind of the one thing, like, going in, we're like, okay, we're gonna 5+ hours each night, let's find a warm, dry place and actually sleep and have a routine around that. So we were like, again, this is stuff I never would have done if I was racing for the podium, but, I'd be carrying a few, freeze dried meals and a stove, and we'd stop for the night and cook, heat up water. And it's like, okay, this is dinner, here's the routine. We're having dinner. Let's go to bed. Let's sleep. And then we wake up and here's some breakfast and here's some hot coffee and let's go. And that seemed to work, and it kept Dad in the game mentally, and it also made it a lot of fun for the rest of us. We could just enjoy the days, really.
Yeah, with less pressure, I guess. And because normally you wouldn't carry a stove and that sort of thing, would you, when you're racing hard?
No, not if you're going for the win. But I do, I think, looking back, let's say there's maybe some other, newer teams, or, a team that, like, I say just make it through. Like, just making it through this is a huge accomplishment. Yeah. So, my advice to maybe a newer team is like, sleep more. Some of these teams are like, oh, we didn't sleep at all the first 3 nights. And it's like, well, yeah, like, and you were probably going really slow during the day and making a lot of mistakes, and you get to your bike and you look at it and you can't figure out how the hell to put it together because your brain doesn't work. Like, stop and sleep, whatever, 3, 4, 5 hours every night, you'll probably feel a lot better during the day. And it's eating as well, eat some, a freeze-dried meal. Like, that's, sitting here, it's like, oh, those things are nasty, but compared to, another energy bar or bag of chips, when you're out there, they're pretty darn good, and, have some good macronutrients and stuff. So,
that's right.
I would think about that, but it's, kind of like ultra running. There's always a balance between how much you're carrying, how heavy is it, versus things you actually need.
Yeah. Yeah. And so about how much sleep do you think you got overall during your time in the race?
We were leading the league in sleep. I mean, literally 5, 6, 7, 8 hours every night, kind of, it would, and some of it would vary, again, what time is it? When's the next cutoff? Et cetera. The longest one night we kind of, the one night there was like all muddy, long night through the jungle where Dad was kind of falling down a whole lot and his back was really hurting. That night, we knew we got to make it to this village, and, I think it took till 1 or 2 a.m. to get there. And then, we got in and, ate a little bit and then probably got up the next day at, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something, but that was kind of the longest into the night that we had to push. But yeah, turns out you feel a lot better during the day when you sleep.
Yeah, it's amazing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have any particular high points or low points that you could share with us?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, those moments of disorientation for Dad were, kind of the lows as far as just concern and, okay, what's going to happen here? Hopefully we can lay down and sleep and it'll go away. Which it did. And then, physically it gets challenging, even if you're not sort of throttling it, just these sections are long. I mean, paddling the Billy for whatever it was, 12 or 14 hours like that, it gets old. And
I bet,
even if you're ready to paddle, you start developing little overuse things. And like our we built the best Billy we could, but somehow it came out that, it wasn't quite even, and the thing wanted to naturally just turn to the left a little bit, which meant the whole way down. I mean, like Danelle and I were you're paddling back and forth, but on one side, every single stroke is a steering stroke to kind of pull, pull the boat around, correct it a little bit. And, again, you do that all day long, it gets pretty old. And I was like, getting these weird little, like hip flexor issues and stuff on one side. And, so anyway, stuff gets old, but it's still good. And probably the high for me really was the human experience, and starting with my dad and going to my teammates and then the other teams and the EcoChallenge community as a whole, just a lot of good energy, whether it's the organizers or the volunteers, or again, the rope staff, the camera crew. It's a bunch of people who just like this kind of stuff and are kind of in their element, and it's fun to be around that energy. And then finally the local people. I mean, man, and I think that came across in the broadcast.
Yeah.
They are just fantastic. They have this bula spirit and a ton of energy, and they are so generous and enthusiastic. And it was just it was such a treasure to have that experience, and for me, for my kids to get to see that culture. And like after the race, we did a homestay in this
Oh,
little village
awesome.
out on an island, and man, what a valuable experience to see a different way of life. And people who are living in much different circumstances from us, here in Colorado, but they're happy and just super generous and look for opportunities to help people. It was great. That was being around those people was a huge takeaway for me.
Yeah, I bet it was. You mentioned the camera crew, and people often, we see all these people going into these difficult situations. We kind of forget that the camera people have to follow you in there and film you at the same time. Was that a strange thing having them there as well?
Yeah,
And
that's a
yeah, go on.
oh yeah, I was just saying, about that's a dynamic challenge as well. And I think they do a good job of choosing very qualified camera folks, people who do this for a living and people who are also fit.
Yeah.
Um, so we had a guy named Johan from Germany who was embedded with our team, and he did all the trekking with us
Wow.
the whole race. And he really became a teammate. He wasn't helping us or giving us food or showing
No.
us away, but I mean, man, he's in it trekking along for 20 hours with us, and we're learning about his family and he's learning about ours. And he was basically part of the team.
So he would have had to carry food for himself and everything like that as well, wouldn't he? As well as the camera.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And he would, like, let's say, we truck along for X number of hours and then we get on the bike, and like, he wasn't biking with us. He would, he kind of had his own support truck with a local
Okay.
driver. So, maybe he could sleep a little, or they drive ahead and try to get a shot of us biking past or whatever. So there were, some breaks, but I mean, those men and women are going, they're going around the clock for a number
Yeah.
of days as well.
That's tough for them too. And so you say you had a camera person embedded with your team. Did every team have that, or was it that they chose particular teams for that?
Yeah, I think they chose, some number of teams ahead of time, and then they probably had, maybe some other people who would bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
But I had a microphone the entire race as well. This, kind of mic I wore around my neck, and I think
Ah.
it was recording, sort of everything we said for the whole
Oh, wow.
race, and a lot of, I mean, that's from ultra running. I mean, it's a lot of just, stupid stuff and
Yes.
potty humor, like, I'm sure whoever, some sound tech in LA or New York listened to that and like, oh my God, these people are just, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, I bet that would have been some funny listening. And so, explain to the listeners how the race ended for your team.
Yeah, we, basically got to a point on the seventh day where, Dad's back was really in bad shape, and it kind of became apparent that we knew there was swimming ahead in this canyoneering section, swimming through very cold pools of water. And they had done that same section in 2002. And all of my teammates did that race. So they, we had a very good sense of what was coming. And we just realized, basically this is not safe for us to do right now, given the swimming and the pace we'd be moving. And, and basically just with Dad's back, swimming wasn't possible. So it was, it's a hard choice. And especially when, I mean, my dad especially has always been, no quit, just keep going, push through. And there's a balance, and this would apply to, many different races or things in life. Like, yes, no quit is an important principle. And there's absolutely something to be learned from persevering through in the face of great, adversity. and being safe and not, not pushing into a situation where there's, for example, a helicopter rescue, or worse. That's an important value as well. So, it was a tough choice, but I think we made the right one, and, no regrets at all. We had an awesome time, and, and I really want to go back to EcoChallenge, and we've got a similar team. Dad's not going to race again, but we're hoping he can go and still be part of the team, because he absolutely is part of it, as far as hanging out and maybe being with the support crew and stuff. And this time I really want to finish, and I think we can.
I was wondering if you
would
would
have to figure that out. It's not going to be easy.
So you have applied for Patagonia, I'm assuming, from what you say.
Yep. Yeah, we applied, and kind of I don't think anyone's been notified as of yet. No. Who's getting in, or how many teams. There's still, obviously we know it's a dynamic time right now, trying to produce any event, whether it's a small local event or a huge international event like this. So I think most likely we're looking at probably like late 2021 for this Patagonia race, and that gives us all time to train and hopefully get some vaccines, and
yeah, who knows? Goodness.
Get on a plane to fly across the world, that kind of stuff. But I'm pumped to go back. I mean, I loved the spirit and the vibe, and the courses are second to none. So, and hopefully make it a good family trip as well.
Again, yeah, that's right. Of course, the weather in Patagonia will be a little bit different to Fiji, so there'll be different elements to work with there.
Yeah, I'd say so. But that's good. I mean, for us as Colorado mountain athletes, I think we'll probably feel a little more at home in the mountains. Of course, yes, it will be cold and windy and rainy and snowy and all that kind of stuff. But, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, that's right. And that's part of adventure racing, isn't it? It's dealing with different weather. So I guess that's. So did you stay and watch the rest of the race after you guys pulled out?
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of, you're sort of like, there's the race hotel where things were based. And then, there's we pulled out at Camp 3, so basically roughly 3/5 of the way through the race. But by then, the race had moved on. There's us and a couple other teams, the Stray Dogs and stuff, a couple teams that missed that cutoff. But there wasn't, if you stayed there, you weren't going to see anything. So we actually flew back to the hotel on Bear Grylls helicopter, which was
awesome.
Very generous and super cool, especially for Dad to get to fly up there and see the core. I mean, it was awesome for all of us, but we flew back and the families were waiting. So we hung around the hotel, and then, people are trickling in, and, every day there's a couple bus loads, and you go out and you greet people, and, oh man, how you doing? And, you check out people's little injuries, where they have cuts and stuff that are starting to get infected. And then you see it the next day and it's like, holy shit, that's looking bad. And then the next day it's like, oh, where's so-and-so? And the teammates are like, oh yeah, well, he flew on a helicopter to New Zealand last night because the infection's gotten really bad. Wow. And that happened to, that was honestly one of the biggest risks for our team. If you have Alzheimer's, you don't want to get really sick, and especially end up in a weird hospital in a foreign country. It's very scary and disorienting, and et cetera. So luckily we were able to avoid that, but we still we got to spend a few days, with the rest of the teams. And by the time we got back, the top teams had already finished, they've been there for a few days. So, we hang out by the pool with the Kiwis or, the Aussies for whatever, and, just catch up and shoot the shit and have a beer. And, and some of them, like the Preston family, they had their little kids. So there's, a few families running around, and, it's fun. It's a blast.
It does sound fun.
Yeah. I mean, then it was like a, beach resort vacation. I mean, we went snorkeling and, the whole deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's Fiji. Why wouldn't you? That's exactly right.
Yep.
So do you have, I mean, I know you said your dad won't be doing the actual EcoChallenge with you next year, but do you have any other sort of adventures planned with your dad?
Yeah, we did, there was a neat virtual challenge this summer. As kind of most of the formal events have been uh, pushed aside or delayed or whatever, but we did a virtual challenge put on by the Leadville Race Series, that was a vertical gain kind of thing, like,
Oh,
sort of do as much vertical as you can over the sort of 10 weeks. And that was cool. That was a fun, neat thing to
yeah.
do together. And I mean, Dad was out there doing 2,000 to 3,000 feet of vertical every day. Combined running and biking, and he came up to like over 100,000 feet of vertical for that 10-week period, which
Oh, that's awesome.
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, we did that. We might do like a local 50K or something um next month. Who knows, maybe some snowshoe races this winter. I think he could probably still do those, sort of with, someone with him to, kind of make sure that, just not make wrong turns and
yeah.
stuff. And we're working on a book together, kind of about this Alzheimer's journey and EcoChallenge, and that's been cool. Honestly, this follow-up stuff from the race, whether it's the book or just getting emails or messages on social media or doing some of these interviews and stuff together, it's been a lot of fun, and it's kind of become part of the treatment, because it's staying engaged, it's doing things that are cognitively challenging and kind of push right up to that limit, and sometimes a little bit beyond, which is probably okay as well.
Yeah.
We're hoping to maybe do some stuff with the Alzheimer's Association here in the U.S. Maybe we're not sure what. Maybe it's making a video or doing some kind of speaking sort of stuff, probably these days at a distance.
Yeah.
But that's become a great thing for him to hey, if this is a story that helps people in a similar circumstance and their families, then we're all about trying to help people.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. And I love the sign of the book. When are you hoping to get that one out?
Well, we've got a proposal. Our agent is it's a long process, but we're shopping the proposal around right now, and we're hoping, who knows, maybe in the next month or something, we've got a publishing contract, and that would probably mean on the shelves, maybe spring, summer 2021.
Yeah, which isn't too far away, really. So
Yeah,
you'll certainly have to be working hard then.
yeah. It's a big undertaking, but yeah, I definitely, having done it before, you just, it's like you're doing your first, whatever X distance or something. You have a lot more sense of what's involved and what the challenges will be and stuff. But again, it's cool to do it together, and kind of like the last book, I'm motivated by hopefully hear something that can help people.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. It's if people haven't watched it, they really need to get on and watch it, because it's an awesome, the race itself, but also just watching you with your dad is an awesome story. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for saying it. Great to be here. I sure hope the world opens back up and I can get down to OZ again. I want to bring my kids to New Zealand and Australia, because Amy and I spent quite a bit of time there back in the day, and I want to make sure the kids get to see it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, look, seriously, I hope we can all be traveling soon. It would be great. And yeah, we'll have to catch up if you do come over here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thanks for that. See you later.